just to give you a little rundown of what's going to happen this morning. Rachel and Emmy are going to have a conversation about some of the work she's done in the last year and about Kericho in Kenya, where she's been working. And then following that conversation, we'll answer some of your questions. And then the last 15 minutes or so of our time this morning, I will ping you all into breakout rooms so you have an opportunity to have a chat and socialize with the other people who were here this morning, which we don't usually get to do virtually, I think. We're so used to being able to sit and have a conversation after a breakfast in person, and we're trying to get that back, trying to get that feeling back. You don't have to stay for that, of course, by all means. I know that you all have jobs or things to do, so if you need to leave at any point, feel free to do that. We completely understand. It's really great to see so many familiar faces, but I do see a few new ones. So I'm just going to briefly kind of run through who Five Talents is and what we do. So Five Talents is a small microfinance organization. We work across 8 different countries, mostly in Eastern Africa, but we do have one in South America and a program in Myanmar. Our programs work through community partners and the Anglican Church, and we train communities to set up savings groups with their neighbors. So together, those savings groups will pool their money into what we call a kind of communal savings pot. And when that pot of money gets big enough, usually about 6 months of savings, the members of the savings group will make loans to one another and use those loans to invest in small businesses. So our staff in East Africa visit the groups regularly to provide them with business skills training alongside guidance on saving and loaning, which empowers the members to make smart business decisions. And all of the programs are based on what individual communities need. So sometimes that means our trainers will provide literacy or numeracy training before the members start saving, so they can learn to read and write and count alongside that savings program. 80% of our members are women who want to become more independent and provide food and medicine and education for their families. But the best part is that all of the groups are owned by the members themselves and operated by the members themselves. So they're trained with the skills they need to make the group self-sustaining. And that way, when Five Talents stops funding that program and moves on to train somewhere else, those groups can continue saving and loaning together. Yeah, so this morning we have Emmy, who ran our Kericho program for 5 years or so. She'll be familiar to a lot of you because she was our guide in Kericho when we did the Impact Marathon and T-Trek there for 2 years in 2017 and 18. But I'm gonna hand it over to Rachel, who is gonna take over asking Emmy some questions. So Rachel, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see so many people. I hope you've all got your cup of Kericho tea or coffee to keep you going this morning. Now, Emmy, many of you do know Emmy. Many of you have been to visit Kericho and had chance to meet her. But for those who haven't, Emmy, I'm going to ask you to say a few words to introduce yourself and tell people what Kericho is like for those who haven't visited. Emmy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, wonderful. We can hear you now. That's great.
Okay, fine. My names are Emmy Rono from Kericho, who has been the program coordinator.
I think the internet is having another wobble. I think
It's very hard to predict these things, but what I did do very handily, everyone, is have a backup option. So actually, Rachel and I talked to Emmy a little bit earlier this week and recorded some of that conversation so that we could share it with you just in case.
Diocese.
Oh, you're back. Emmy, we lost you, but I think you're back. Can you hear us again now?
Yeah, I don't, and my network is okay. I don't know how. So I was saying Kericho covers 3 counties, Bomet, Narok, and Kericho, with an area of farmers, small-scale business holders, and those on formal employment. We also have those who are not working. So they are casual laborers. They work on people's farms to earn a living. So that is Kericho, where we have the program Kericho Community Development Trust. We also have pastoralists in the side of Narok. And those pastoralists also practice some farming. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. And tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that people face in Kericho.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. We have challenges in Kericho, but then they depend on the area, because we have challenges, different challenges in Narok, whereby we have floods and drought that can be prolonged. We also have challenges like insecurity in some areas of Transmara, where we also have our groups. We have challenges of now low income earners, whereby people are not on formal employment. What they do is they hustle to earn a living. And then we have also a challenge of now when we do our farming, the way I've said, our people are farmers, we have a challenge of market. So we have mixed challenges depending on the area that we come from. Thank you.
Mm. And I know the majority of the people in the groups that you work with are women. So are there particular challenges that affect women in your place?
Yes, thank you, Rachel. And in Narok area, women have no say. They don't own property. So they're just there to be seen and not to be heard. So that's a challenge. And then culturally, these women may not be involved in decision making, but that one is somehow becoming a thing of the past, because through KCDT, we've been able to empower these women so they can contribute in one way or another. So again, the challenges that women have is that you find in most families, women are the breadwinners. For their children to go to school and to eat and to have basic needs, it basically takes the hand of these women through their initiative to see that their families run and their children go back to school, and then they can afford basic needs. Not all, but at least the very basic needs like school and clothing and some medical attention. So those are the challenges that women have. They tend to carry all the burden that should have been otherwise carried by the man and the woman. So the women, you'll find most of them are the burden bearers of their families. So those are some of the challenges. And bearing in mind that these women may not own property. They do not own cows. So they have to look for means to feed their families and to take their children to school.
And you who've met you know that you're a wonderful storyteller. I wonder if this morning you could tell us a story about one woman that you've met who has managed to change her life and meet her family's needs.
Oh yeah, thank you, Rachel. I've got actually almost 1,000, but let me share one story of one woman who comes from one of the groups called SK Lolgorian, that is in Transmara, near the border of Kenya and Tanzania. When we started a group there, we met this woman, this lady, and she didn't have an account because she didn't have any money. So when we started the group, she was elected to be the secretary. And then I made her my personal friend because I saw the potential in her. And so when I made her my personal friend, I asked her what her desire was. And she told me that she would want to have a bank account and then to have a steady source of income. So I worked with her. She started saving as little as 100 Kenyan shillings. And then she took her first loan of around 6,000 Kenyan shillings. She hired a small farm. She planted some traditional vegetables. Then she was selling them to the members of the church, and she was taking them to the local markets. So when she cleared her first loan, she took her second loan that was now thrice her savings. And she managed to lease a bigger parcel of land, and she was able to now do farming almost 3 times what she was doing before. And as I speak, she's a happy woman because one, she has increased her savings. Secondly, her children go to school. Thirdly, she supplies the traditional vegetables not only to the town near her, but to Nairobi, that is the capital city of Kenya. So through KCDT, she's been able to change her status. Now she's able to meet her needs without much struggle because she earns an income on a daily basis, and she's able even now to take part in community projects unlike before, and her kids can afford good education. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Emmy. Now, I wanted to ask you a few questions about 2020, about last year. So all of us are speaking to you from our own homes because we're in lockdown in the UK. And I know you also struggled with some of the impacts of coronavirus in Kenya. So could you tell us a bit more about how you were affected last year? What did it look like in Kericho when coronavirus began?
Okay, thank you, Rachel. And as I said in the beginning, Kericho diocese covers 3 counties. So we had effects basing on the county. For instance, in Narok County, where we have 12 groups, we had members, our clients' businesses being shut down because Narok is closer to Nairobi. So we have members who had just borrowed loans, and before they could even go for stock in Nairobi, Nairobi was under lockdown. So the members could not do much. The restaurants in Narok were closed. The businesses were closed, especially that deal with clothes. They were closed, and those are our members' businesses. And our members were not able to, now Narok being an urban center, our members were not able to even meet their daily needs. I remember one member who went to one of our pastors asking for food because she couldn't afford, because their businesses had closed down, and then they wouldn't go anywhere because it is an urban setting, and people had not prepared to store food and any other thing that may need. So in the rural setting, we were also affected by COVID because in as much as we have food on our farms, we couldn't consume. So we had a lot of losses because the markets were closed. There was nowhere to sell this food. And our clients' savings decreased because there was no income. And then the loan repayment was also a challenge because we couldn't sell anything. The markets were closed. So we were really affected, whether in rural or in urban, we were all affected because in the rural, we produce food, yes. We couldn't go hungry, yes. But then we couldn't sell to get money to buy other things. And those people in the urban, maybe they had cash, but they couldn't access food because of the lockdown. So we were adversely affected, but we are happy that we are soon overcoming that.
So tell us how, Emmy, how did you overcome it? How did you respond?
As a program, we looked at the needs of our members, and we did some COVID survey. We wanted to know if our members knew what COVID was and how to avoid that. And I remember when I was carrying out a COVID survey in one of the groups in Sotik called SEK St. Paul's Kimasi, one of the questions was, are you aware of someone in need? If not in the group or in the church, it is someone in need within the community. And the member said, yes, there was a widower who has been sick for long, and there is no one to help him. If some of his things at home. So from that, some members, not necessarily to go with, we're going to do his fence. So and some guys to go do fencing. Some women were going to clean his house. Some men were going to slash his compound. And some men were going to spray his cow. So that is it. And then again, we planned to do COVID awareness, 2 groups out of the 4 satellite offices. So we did survey for 8 groups, and we realized that people didn't know much about COVID, and they had myths. They were like, COVID is only for those with money, those who are big in size, those who are old, because they were thinking if you are 60 and above, you are likely to get COVID. And they were like, now the poor in the village will not get COVID. So we decided now to work with the 5 Talents family to do COVID awareness in all our groups. And we work together with the Ministry of Health, Kericho County and Bomet County. And then in Transmara and Narok, we work together with Anglican Development Services, the health department, in creating awareness, whereby we terms how it spread and how to avoid people who are suffering from stigma due to being affected by COVID. And so we had these medical practitioners teaching people on COVID and how to wash hands and how to behave. And we gave them masks, hand sanitizers, and stationery, and we gave them materials that talk about COVID. They were able to circulate in their homes. And we did hand washing practically, and we asked them to share with leaders, whereby, okay, we were targeting our trust group leaders, and then church leaders, and then the community leaders, whereby we were targeting the area chiefs and the members of county assemblies and other opinion leaders in the community. And we were able to reach so many people, more than 300, with the same information. And actually people came back thanking KCDT because of the work that we had done in creating awareness. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Emmy. I think it's a great strength of the 5 Talents model that because we work through so many communities, you're able to share these trainings right down to the grassroots and all the villages so that people could understand how to protect themselves against coronavirus. So thank you for doing all that work last year. And I want to ask you for another story. I want to ask you to share a story of somebody who inspired you last year, even in spite of coronavirus. And I know there were other challenges in Kericho last year as well, some flooding. I know that many of our savings group members have so much resilience because they face crises all the time, not just coronavirus, but many other crises. So I wonder if you could share a story of someone who inspired you last year, Emmy, in spite of all the challenges.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. And just to take you a little bit back, during our group trainings, we strongly believe that we are there to impart knowledge, to give knowledge and to give them skills and to encourage practice so that they're able to put in practice what we are telling them. So at the course of last year, I remember last year and 2019, that is 2019, 2020, we had purpose to give our people practical skills that will help them earn incomes as individuals and as a group. So we had others doing beekeeping, and then we had others that were doing soap making. So when COVID came, we had this group, and then there is an individual member who was selling soap. We had trained her on soap making, and she was very passionate about it. So she was able to now use the skill that she had gotten, not to make soap, but to make hand sanitizer and to sell. So she was able to earn an income through selling, and not even income alone. She was also helping spread the gospel of anti-COVID gospel, because she was encouraging, as she was selling the hand sanitizer, she was encouraging members to sanitize and to wash their hands the way it should be done and to keep social distance. Though this member really encouraged us, she inspired us because we were proud of her, and she was saying that she was doing this courtesy of KCDT, who had given her the skills that she needed of anti-COVID. And then again, she was able to earn an income. And she was even proudly sharing with me that her second loan that she had borrowed of 5,000 Kenyan shilling, she was able to repay that loan using income that she got from the liquid soap and the hand sanitizers that she was getting. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmy. I could listen to your stories all day, but we must make time to allow our guests to ask you some questions too, rather than me hogging all the question asking. But before we hand over to questions from our guests today, I wondered if there's anything else you wanted to share.
Yes, one is I would want to thank the Five Talents family for their moral support.
I think we've lost you again, Emmy.
As we wait for Emmy to reconnect, if you do have any questions, I have seen some ping through on the chat box, but do take this opportunity now while we wait for Emmy to return to us to ping your questions into the chat box. I've seen some great questions so far. If for some reason Emmy cannot return, I might ask Hannah, our lovely program manager, to step in and answer some of those questions so they don't go completely unanswered. But let's hope that Emmy returns.
Funnily enough, this is exactly where the internet dropped when we were doing our recording and our rehearsal. Must be a fated question. Just like that, Emmy is back. Emmy, we lost you for a few moments. You were just wrapping up what your...
Yeah, my network is bad where I am. Yeah, I was saying the skill to come up with business ideas, and then as they do their businesses, like there is a business skill step 6 in manual 1, it talks about preparing for an unexpected event. And our members prepared well after the lessons. We were able to take them back again during COVID time, and even set how to prepare for an unexpected event in your business and in your home. And we normally ask them to, the unexpected event is either positive or negative. And so we are able to articulate the negative effects that affect our businesses and the positive ones. And then, so I was saying, I'm thanking the Five Talents family for the training manuals that are very practical. And then when we had prepared for unexpected events, we came to manual 2, where it talks about you seize opportunity to sell your products. And we were able to train our groups on seizing the COVID period to sell hand sanitizers as a group and as individuals. We had a group called Arising Women that sold hand sanitizers. They seized that opportunity. So we thank the Five Talents family for giving us the training manuals that are very practical. Secondly, we thank the Five Talents family for coming to Kericho and partnering with us. I remember we started very small in 2012 when I was still in the Mothers Union with the Roscas. And it was not easy now reaching to the wider community because of lack of resources. And for Five Talents,
All right, I think we've lost Emmy, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is ask Hannah if you wouldn't mind popping on your camera and talking to some of our supporters about some of these questions. Obviously, you're not Emmy, so you cannot answer them all, but I think it will be helpful if you've answered a few for us. When Emmy rejoins, we'll ask her to pop her video off so that we can hear her better, I think.
I'm back.
Oh, Emmy, you're here. Hello.
Yeah, I came back a long time ago.
Oh, goodness me. I'm sorry. If you wouldn't mind leaving your video off, I think that will help. I'm going to ask you some questions from our supporters. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Okay, good. Great. Let me just pull them up. So one of the questions one of our supporters had, Emmy, was what about the men that you help? We spent a lot of time this morning talking about women, but they were wondering the women that you help, how supportive are their husbands?
How supportive are their husbands?
Of their savings and of their businesses. How supportive are members' husbands of the work that you're helping them do?
Okay, thank you, Megan. I've talked about women, but in KCDT, we have both men and women. And we are happy to say that the businesses that come up, they are family businesses and they are run by both the husband and the wife. And they're also in the savings groups. So the men are part of the journey. We have around 40% of our membership are men, and they are part of these success stories. It's only that I've shared about women. So they attend trainings, we're able to attend together. And then when a woman sets up a business, they run as a family with a man. Yes.
Thanks, Emmy. That's great to hear. Another question we've had is, how do the women in the group support and help each other, both in normal times and especially now during COVID?
Thank you, Megan. I have an example of a group whereby when COVID came, schools were closed in March 2020. And I'm just going to give some maybe 2 examples. So there's a member who had a loan. And so she didn't have other savings in her bank account. So they were sent home when schools closed, and she was in arrears for about 2 months. And so when I shared with the group leadership asked me for her loan balance. And I went to the group with her loan balance. And the group normally meets on the 4th week of the month. So in the 3rd week of the month, we got SMS from the group chair that we need to contribute to a needy member. So we were asked to go with something during group training and to send something. So the group was able to settle her loan arrears, and actually the outstanding balance was the group was able to offset the outstanding balance. And then we had people who didn't have food. So through the leadership of our trust groups, because we've really empowered our trust group leadership, we were able to mobilize resources in terms of food stuff to share with those who are needy, because we have needy people in the community. So we've spent most of our time cultivating unity in our groups, so that if a member will come to the group and will share that they have a problem, as a group, we are there to sort that member, and they will go home happy, and our group will go on well, because we will not have defaulters, and we'll have members who have food on the table. Yes.
It's great to hear you talk about schooling a bit, because actually one of the questions that we've gotten in is how do the groups, how does Five Talents help support children? What's the impact on the lives of children, especially of members of the groups?
Okay, thank you. We know these children are in the families of our members. So for instance, if a member will come to the group and say they didn't have food, or a child has been sent home because due to COVID, there is no salary, they are now not working. So in most of our groups, we have a welfare kitty that is not attached to the head office, it is at the group level. So that is where we can now get something small to buy food for these people, or pay school fees for these children. If it is a very needy case, the group leadership will talk. Now that is at the group level. The group leadership will talk, look at the welfare money, and then buy something. For instance, there's a member, we lost a member. And when we were in the group, we heard that the children were going without food. because their mom had gone to be with the Lord. So what we did as a group is we used some of our welfare money. We bought food stuff for the children of our member who had passed on. So there's a lot of unity in our groups because we normally emphasize on being your brother's keeper. Our business is not necessarily to come and save, but and have sources of income so that our groups can go on well. So with the group that have welfare, that is the money that we use to buy food for the children or any other need that may arise within the membership.
Another question we've had, Emmy, is what role does the local church play? So how do the local churches support the groups? And in turn, how do the groups support the local churches?
Okay, thank you for that question. Now, our entry point through, when we are doing sensitization, our entry point is the church. Our target is not the church, it is the whole community, but our entry point is the local church. So the local church gives us an audience. We sensitize KCDT and then they give us, they listen to us. And then when we form a program, they bring in other members to join KCDT. The same local church will give us the structure, the church, to use for training. We normally carry out our trainings in the local church. And where the local church has got, for instance, a chalkboard, we go with our the chalks, the pieces of chalks, and we use their chalkboard to train. So the local church gives us venue to do our meetings, and that is where we get our membership from the local church. And then they are our ambassadors. When we talk of KCDT, they now carry the message to other people within the community. And then KCDT to the local church is that now when we empower the members of this local church, the church will benefit in terms of tithing and then the offerings, because I have an example of a church that used to do poorly in terms of giving. So when the program was started, when I started the program there, that is history now, because the members have been empowered, they are now doing income. So they're able to support the church, the work of the church. So the local church benefits when the members are empowered, the income of the church goes up. Secondly, when we were giving out dividends, the members, the trust group members gave some percent to the local church as a thanksgiving to the church for giving them space to use the church. So it is a two-way. As KCDT, we benefit from the local church. As a church, they benefit from us. Yes.
Another question from a different supporter. Are you able to involve those whose lives you've changed in reaching others with the model of savings that we use?
Yes, we are able. And in fact, when we are doing sensitization, and mostly when we are doing leaders trainings, we normally share success stories in writing. And if we are able to, then we share photos. And in an event where we need to go with a person, we take this person to that place and they're able to share what they have benefited from us. And we have a lot of success stories. And what we do, when I was still the program head, what I used to do is I had encouraged group linkage, as in I had linked groups that were doing well and those that were not doing well, so that they are able to learn, to benchmark and learn from one another. So if there is a success story in group A and I'm going to train group B, I will go with the one with a success story from group A to group B, and they're the ones talking from experience right from the inception of the program in their place up to now. So we are able to engage our clients who are successful in advocating for us. And in fact, people, even without talking much, people are able to see and they are like, now what's happening? in so and so, they have really changed. They now have income. They now participate in community activities unlike before. So we are able to work well because of the success stories that we have. Yes.
Obviously, last year has had a significant effect in terms of income for many members. With that reduction in income, have you seen more loans being made?
Reduction of income due to COVID?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. We had some small loans made in Q2 because Q2 of last year, that was just during COVID time, we didn't have any loans. So in Q3, we had now loans coming almost to the normal percentage. And then in Q4, our loans were almost back to normal. That is in Q4 2020, because businesses were now picking up slowly. So it dropped in Q2, then it picked slowly in Q3. In Q4, we were almost back to our normal loaning. Yes.
And what types of businesses do these kinds of loans support? I know you've talked a lot about a lot of farmers that we work with, but what other types of businesses do our members have in Kericho?
Okay, fine, thank you. And when I was training in one group, I didn't know we had a tailor. But when I talked about, okay, it was a business skill step 3, I believe. So we realized that we had a tailor, but he had not branded his shop. So we gave him a name, Gilbert the Tailor, and he has now gotten a lot of customers. So our clients are tailors, and I hope we know who the tailors are. They make clothes. We have small scale business ladies and men who sell cereals. They sell food stuff. We have those who own big shops like hardware shops. We have those who do carpentry. They have workshops. We have those who are in other businesses. We have a client who has opened a hospital. She's a nurse, so she has her own clinic. We have, okay, besides farmers, we have a group that is doing business on soap making and yogurt. We train them on that. We have businesses that deal with beekeeping. So they do beekeeping and they sell honey. So those are the kinds of businesses that our clients are engaged in. Yes.
In the UK and many other places of the world, COVID, there's been a lot of misinformation about COVID, a lot of things that aren't true. And one of the things that the government here has done has tried to release information to let people know what is true and what they should be aware of, especially around receiving a vaccine. There are a lot of people who want to try to charge people money for a vaccine, but the government has had to say that doesn't happen, that the vaccine will be free to everyone. Has COVID support and awareness been forthcoming from the Kenyan government in Kericho? And do the members there trust the advice that they receive?
Yes, thank you, Megan, for that question. Yes, when COVID came, actually the government took the initiative of informing the members. Now the challenge is our members tend not to believe what they hear from other people. They only believe what they hear from whom they know. So when the government spoke about COVID, it was a bit of like, no, that is the government's way of trying to get funds from donors. So when we took over as KCDT and we worked together with the county government, Ministry of Health, they were able to now listen and to internalize the information and even to follow the guidelines. So the Kenyan government has been spearheading this. But then to our people, they might not have believed well. So thanks to the county government, through KCDT, we are able to now disseminate the information to the grassroots, and they now know. And we gave them pamphlets and posters that talk about COVID, and we've seen them pin on churches, they pin on shopping centers, and they follow the rules. Yes.
That's great. Thank you, Emmy. Another question.
Yes.
Someone asks, what is the members' main financial need? What would they be able to do if they had more resources?
Okay, thank you, Megan, for that question. I had said earlier that we've seen new businesses coming up and other businesses being improved. So if our members were financially stable, we are sure that more businesses will come up, and then the existing businesses will be improved. And those who are doing farming will lease more acreages to plants. So if members had more enough money, we would see businesses doubling up, expansion of new businesses, and venturing and taking other risks, opening up of new businesses, coming up with new business ideas, setting up industries. I have a client who is dreaming of opening an industry. Yes. So those are the things that we are hoping to see in future. Yes.
What do you think the main goal of Five Talents is in Kericho this year?
Five Talents is a family. One is our one is to continue empowering our members to be self-reliant. I know that is the goal of Five Talents and us as KCDT, so that our members can be self-reliant. Secondly, is to transit our program from being a CDT to a SACCO this year in 2021, bearing in mind that we still have members who we need to nurture and transit them slowly into the SACCO. So we are hoping to continue empowering our members and imparting practical skills. We believe more in practical skills so that members are able to put in practice what they know in theory, and then to transit our program to become a SACCO. Yes.
Do young people in the villages see a future there, or do you think they dream of going on to the cities?
Thank you for that question. And recently I had a group on 1st January, I had a group of young people visit me at home asking if I can empower them wherever they are to be self-reliant. So I have this group of young people who have joined one of the saving groups. There are 7 of them. They are comfortable in their rural area. The challenge that they were having is that they don't have somewhere to save whatever they were getting because there are no banks. So when they join KCDT, they are able to save through pay bill. So they no longer want to go to the cities because the services that they wanted in the city have been brought to them. And then the trainings that they lacked, I'm training them. And then we are going to do agribusiness with them and do beekeeping. So they are contented wherever they are because what they were going to look for in the city is now with them in the village. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Emmy. You've been absolutely wonderful. I know the internet wobbled a bit, but we got through it. And we're all really thankful that you were able to join us this morning and to hear about the amazing work that you've been doing, not just last year, but since you've been working with Five Talents. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Megan.
I'm going to pass this over to Rachel now. If she's still, yeah, there she is. Okay. Hi, Rachel.
Thank you, Megan. Yeah, I'm still here. I'll risk turning the video back on as well. Emmy, thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic. I know from being with you in Kenya and actually from your visit to us in the UK as well, that you never ever get tired. But I'm sure we've come close to tiring you by asking you so many questions, but it was such a pleasure to listen to you. So thank you ever so much for joining us and for everything you've shared this morning. And a huge thank you to all of our guests too. I'm sorry we can't look around the room and see your faces. We very much miss that and being able to chat with you over a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Those times will come again, but until then, it's wonderful that so many of you can join us virtually and have the chance to hear from Emmy. I was really pleased we had the question about whether men joined the groups. Actually, those of you who know me will know that I often tell stories of the women that we support. But my favourite story from Kericho is in fact from one of the men, a guy called Ruben, who joined one of our groups quite early on. And he is on his own looking after 7 children. He dropped out of school at primary school level. He wasn't able to continue his education. Thanks to some of the trainings from Emmy and her team, he took up beekeeping, one of those businesses that Emmy mentioned. And from the profits of his beekeeping, all 7 children are now able to go to school. And he also looks after his mother, who is elderly now as well. But I think one of my favourite quotes of all from Ruben, he said, "Now I can look after my finances well, and now I have more confidence." But most of all, my favourite bit is when he said, "The trainings brought us togetherness in the group." And I don't know if you noticed when Emmy was speaking, she spoke about the transformation that neighbours see when they see other groups. And she said that they'll see the next door people, they've got income generation and they've got community participation. So I think when we talk about our work, we often focus on the savings, the loans, the training, but we forget that what all of this does is it brings the community together. And I think that's something we've all seen the need of more than ever in these last 12 months or so. And it reminds me of one of my favourite quotes from Emmy. You'll have heard just in the last 45 minutes that she's such a wonderful raconteur and storyteller. And she once said to us that when spiders' webs unite, they can catch a lion. And I love that saying so much. I think particularly now that we're all separated, we're all far apart from each other, that's what spiders' webs do. They can connect over massive, massive differences. And that idea of all of us coming together wherever we are to help catch that lion, whatever shape it takes, I think it is really, really inspiring. So that's what we'd like to ask all of you to do, really, to help us spread that spider's web a little bit further. Please, by telling your friends about 5 Talents. We have another event coming up in March, which we're calling an introduction to 5 Talents. Many of you need no introduction, you've known us a long time. For those of you who are newer to 5 Talents, that will be a chance for you to ask lots and lots more questions, right back to how does it all start? How did we all start? Any questions you like about 5 Talents. Today, we've plunged you in at the deep end by hearing from Emmy, who is so experienced and has worked with us for so long. But that event in March will be a time for you to go right back to the beginning and find out anything you want to know about 5 Talents' work all over the world. And we would love you to invite your friends to come to that too. We'd really love to grow our web, our network of supporters bigger. So if you could invite a friend along to that event in March, that would be fantastic. And Megan will of course be sharing the invitations with all the details later this month. So it's 8:55 to 9. We always make a vow to finish these events dead on time so you can get back to your offices, however far they may be from where you are now, which is probably a 30-second commute. We are going to offer the chance to split into breakout rooms though, because we really want to try and replicate a little bit of the socialising, the interaction, the fellowship that we love when we have in-person events. So if you can stay, please do stick around. You'll be put into a breakout room. You can stay for as long as you like, just to have a chat with some of your friends, old and new. If you do have to go, thank you ever so much again for coming. And once again, a huge thank you to Emmy. Emmy, thank you ever so much.
Welcome. Thank you.